You know, when you have a disappointing loss like that, as we had in Arizona, it is one that I think truly tests your character and your resolve, not only individually, but collectively as a team. And we're being tested. And we talked at great length about that last night. I think that we were all extremely disappointed in not just the outcome of the ball game Saturday night, but just the manner in which the game went, the way we coached the game, the way we played the game, and then ultimately the outcome of the game. And I think as we touched on with the team, in times like this, in times of adversity, you really get acquainted with yourself. Generally, the conversations are more with yourself rather than others. You don't have the tendency to want to talk to as many people outside of yourself, and generally most people don't want to talk to you as much. And so the conversations from within are the ones that are critical for us in understanding the situation that we're in and how we work our way out of it. Say just a general synopsis of the ball game. Thought we had a good plan in all three phases. Obviously, it wasn't a good one. We generally got beat in all three phases. We didn't execute the way that we thought we could have executed the game plan, so obviously it wasn't a good game plan. And we have to do a better job of that. I do know that we're taking on an excellent Oregon State team. I have a great deal of respect for Mike Riley and what he's done in Oregon State. And to think that football team was 3-9 a year ago, I believe 5-7 the year before that, to rally that team and to get them to play the way they're playing right now is extremely impressive. And so we've got another tremendous challenge on our hands Saturday. I think we've got a group of people here that believe that we can make changes in a week span that are capable enough of winning this football game, but it's going to take a group effort. It's not about one individual or two individuals. It's going to take an entire group effort to make that happen, and I firmly believe that it can. And I'll be proud of our guys when this thing that does get turned around, because I think these moments for a football team are not only season-changing experiences, but they're program-changing experiences and they're life-changing experiences for the individuals involved. So it's a great challenge, but one that we'll take on head-on like we always do. Unfortunately, but fortunately, we've been here before, and we've responded, and I believe we'll respond again.
We'll just take questions from folks here in person.
When you talk about being critical of the way you coach the game, what specifically are you talking about?
Well, Steve, you go into every game and you have a game plan, right? You have it on offense, you have it on defense, you have it on special teams. And when you practice really well throughout the week, and then you go into the game and those same opportunities are presented to you in all three phases, not just one, in all three phases, and you don't carry over the way you practiced into the game, you don't execute those same plays, whether it's on offense, defense, or special teams, the same way you did on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, then there's a bit of a disconnect there. Maybe the game plan wasn't as good as we thought, because for one reason or another, it didn't get done. And so we're being extremely critical of ourselves, of what we're putting on our kids, what we're asking them to do, to ensure that we're putting them in position to be successful, because that's ultimately what we want to have happen.
You threw a lot of passes in that game. I mean, is that the kind of thing you're referring to there, or is it more big picture-ish? Or?
No, we felt like we had some opportunities to throw it. We felt like there were some things for us down the field to take advantage of, some of which we did, some of which we didn't, for a variety of reasons. Some, we missed a couple reads, we missed a couple throws, we didn't pass protect the way I thought we would be capable of pass protecting. And then ultimately the score gets to where you kind of have to throw if you want to try to win the game. Ultimately you're trying to win the game and not just keep it close so it looks good at the end. We're trying to win. And So you're going to throw a few more passes when you fall behind to try to get back into the ball game.
You said you're going to think about what's getting in the way of the trust between you and Keith. Did you come to any conclusions with that yet?
Yeah, I think so. I think that he's trying really hard. You know, he's an ultra competitive kid, and I really appreciate that about him. And he wants to be so right that in the end, as human beings, the person you trust the most is yourself, and the person you lean on the most is yourself. And I think at times he's trying just to rely on him right now to figure it out. And my point to him is, I wouldn't do anything ever to put him in a situation that I didn't think he could be successful in being. And so my goal is that he believes in me and my ability to prepare him, to put together a game plan and to call plays that he can execute and execute at a high level. And if they don't work, I'll be the first to tell him, hey Keith, that's my fault. But I just want him to believe in me as much as he's believing in himself.
See, you had that last year, it seemed, with Price and two of you. How did it evaporate?
I don't know if it evaporated. I think it's lessened. I think we went through a run at about midpoint of last season where it wasn't great either, you know, and we found a way to re-energize it and to close out the season really well. I think we've dealt with some things on our roster this year that could have potentially started that trust to diminish in what's going on around him. But I believe in the way I can coach that position. I believe in Keith's ability to play the position. And we'll get it back. I just want to get it back sooner rather than later.
When you were playing quarterback, did you ever have that kind of feel of, I'm not so sure about this call, or I'm not so sure about this line, and how did you reconcile those things?
I felt, I think, like Keith felt. I want to make sure about the call. Rather than I'm not so sure, I want to make sure. And in turn, what happens, you're trying to see guys get open rather than anticipate them getting open. And that's the biggest issue with it to me. And, you know, I think that we've all gone through it, and the greatest quarterbacks have all gone through it sometimes. The really good ones find their way out of it. And I believe Keith will, because he's a really good player.
And when you're waiting to see guys get open, what was kind of the trickle-down effect versus the anticipation of that?
You can be late with the ball. The rush can get there because you're holding on to the ball a bit longer. The windows close faster, so throws that shouldn't be as contested become more contested. Your ability to trust in your playmakers to make plays when they're in one-on-one settings isn't quite as high. All of those things start to factor in, and you don't throw the ball maybe with the same amount of zip and velocity and conviction that you had in the past. And so all of those things, and then when you add all that up, that's not great, you know. So I'd like to think we can get a game plan together for Keith this week, and one that he really believes in, that allows him to do the things that he does really, really well, as the other 10 players on the field with him. That gives us as a team the best chance to win.
Sark, can you give us an idea of what the personal struggle has been like for you as you try to figure this team out? What's keeping you up late at night? What are you mulling over?
Everything keeps me up late. You know, that's being a ball coach, and that's the middle of the season, and that's playing good teams, and that's, you know, being on a 3-game losing skid. I mean, all that stuff that's natural. For me, I really like this football team. You know, I think that's the hard part for me, Jerry, is that I like these kids. I really appreciate their work ethic. I appreciate their desire. They do everything we ask of them to do, at least to the best of their ability. So what keeps me up is I just want success for them. I just feel like they deserve it. And that's what I want, you know. And so that's the part of where my searching, my digging, my trying to find the best way to connect with these guys, to stay connected with them. to get them success, because this is a good group of guys. They're better than the way they've been playing, and that's what I want to get out of them. I'd like for them to maximize their potential, and because I think when we do, which we will, when that happens, I'm not exactly sure yet, but when we do, we're going to be pretty good. We just haven't found the right formula yet, and that's the hardest part for me, because I've always felt like I could connect with the team, and they would respond to me. And I thought that happened last week, but for some reason, when the ball got kicked off Saturday night, that didn't occur. And we made some uncharacteristic mistakes in all three phases that told me I didn't push all the right buttons that I'm accustomed to pushing. And so, back to the drawing board, and from a motivational standpoint, not just to get them excited to play, but to get them to go out and execute at a high level and play disciplined football.
An obvious question some fans would have is, at the quarterback spot, if there's any other option there ever, or if there's ever thought of trying somebody else there. I mean, is there any?
That's a crazy thought. Keith Price, our quarterback.
Steve, you look at the last 6 road games, and they've gotten out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Underlying causes of why those games got so competitive.
That one, I've kicked that around too, and I'm trying not to spend too much time this week on that, because the simple fact we're playing at home against Oregon State, and the more time I spend worrying about stuff that doesn't pertain to this week, the less it helps us prepare for the ball game. But I did kick it around on the flight home, and just some thoughts, and not just with me, but other people in our organization, and just to why. We've looked at different things along the way of changing our routine of when we're getting there, and the night game aspect, and how long we're in the opposing arenas for, all of that, and I think for whatever reason, it's happened so quickly. That's the part that's been discouraging to me on the road is, we're not, I shouldn't say every time, but very few times have we gone to the locker room and it's a tie ball game or a 3-point game. It feels like we're fighting an uphill battle from kind of the second quarter on, and that's not a great position to be in when you're on the road. So we're going to continue to dig around and look and try to understand what that is. But it's a definite issue with us right now that we're going on the road and we're not playing very good football. Maybe we rely on our fans too much. We've got great fans and we love playing in front of them. Obviously at Husky Stadium or at CenturyLink Field, and I think you can see it in our play. But somewhere in here we're going to have to rely on the 100 or so people that get on that airplane with us, that's who we're going with, and that's who we have to rely on, and lock arms and go into an opponent's stadium and play good football collectively, and not rely on outside sources to motivate us.
Have you thought about going to night practices this week?
No.
How about the third wide receiver position? Obviously, Casey and Austin Buster does really good things in the game, and you gotta kind of have that third receiver consistently. How much are you still trying to figure out who that is, or still by committee, or?
Well, there's a lot of different roles taking place, and guys doing different things within the game plan. I was really impressed by Casey and Austin again. I thought they played a good football game. They played hard. It's unfortunate Austin got a couple penalties called on him, but they played hard. And I thought DeAndre Campbell did an excellent job blocking, especially in the run game. We're still continually trying to find ways to get Jadon Mickens involved and Cody Bruns involved in what we're doing. And we'll still continue to look for ways to get Marvin Hall involved. But until then, we've got 2 go-to guys, and then that third guy is going to be varied on the personnel groupings that we have on the field.
Did the film reveal any more specific on the defensive side of the ball? Any real?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. That's why I touched on the game plan, because there was stuff that we had practiced all week, starting from the very first play, that Arizona didn't do anything new, and we just didn't align properly and didn't fit the runs properly. And from the beginning. And so we have to look at ourselves first of what we're asking our guys to do, and are they capable of doing that and doing it at a high level for a consistent period, because that didn't happen the other night.
And teams running up the middle against you seem to be a whole, at least against Oregon and Saturday. What can be better?
Well, they're doing a good job of getting us spread out, and stretching us horizontally across the field. And we're having a difficult time right now maintaining our gaps. Not that we're out of our gaps. We're in the proper gaps, but that the gaps are getting washed, and we're getting pushed, and now the gap becomes bigger for the one defender who's responsible for that gap. And so we have to try to find a way to hold our ground a bit better, maybe slanting some people and different things so that the gaps aren't as big, that force the one defender who's responsible for that gap to make even a tougher play. And so against those teams that really are going to stretch us horizontally like that with their formations and with the no huddle.
Steve, is there a precedent for in playing a coaching career in the situation you find yourself in with this team, and who do you rely on or fall back on or consult?
I feel like we were in it. I think it was last year. I don't remember. Maybe it was 2 years ago. At one point, we had played Stanford, Oregon, and Arizona. I think the combined score, you guys probably know better than me, was about 130 to 30 or 140 to 30. So, unfortunately, but fortunately, we've been here before, and I only know one way, and that's through hard work to find your way out of it. Is to go back to work and to grind away at it, whether it's individually or collectively. There's no magic potion. I think that we talked to the team about this last night. You have to, and you get in times like this, your belief has to be stronger than ever. It can't be about hope. Hope is the guy that goes down to the local liquor store and buys 5 scratch-offs and hopes to make some money. And belief is a guy that believes in his preparation, works hard, and when he gets an opportunity, he earns his money. And we have to play with belief, not hope.
What does Pete Carroll tell you?
I haven't spoken to Pete on this one.
What was the thought process with Mike Chris going to right guard?
We just gave them all a fair shot throughout the week at right guard. And we thought Mike earned it. Wanted to give James a start because he'd been playing well for us, and been pretty good for us out there on the right side. I felt like Mike earned it throughout the week last week and got progressively better as the week went on. And I thought Mike actually played pretty good on the right side. I thought our right side played pretty good, and unfortunately the left side, which had been playing pretty good up to that point, didn't have its best game Saturday night.
You mentioned the calls Austin got. There's a couple other kind of calls like that for other linemen. I mean, were those all, I guess, legit calls, things that were going on?
I don't want to get fined for something here to say something wrong. I didn't agree with all the calls. That's all I can say. I just felt like stuff got called. That's football, and you live with it. You can only control what you can control, and if I don't wear the black and white, and I don't have the yellow hankies to make the calls. That's not my job. And so you just try to control what you can control and be mentally tough enough to persevere and to move on from it.
Sark, with a game like this, is this a situation where you have to rely on the captains and the leaders maybe even more than ever?
I think it's everybody. I got to rely on me, one, to convey a really good message to the guys that they believe in. And then that message has to be spread throughout, whether it's from coaches, leaders, training room, to everybody, that we're all on the same page, and we're in it for a common goal. And I think that's the biggest thing to rely on, is that we're all on a united front right now, and I think that we are.
Recently, this team has had a lot more success kind of going with the tough physical defense going against Stanford and counting against SC. Would you say this team is better equipped to go against those kind of teams and Oregon State versus the spread team? Is that a fair assessment to make?
If you had asked me before the season, I probably would have said the opposite, just because of the personnel that we have in place. But for whatever reason, we hadn't performed against those teams that have gone up tempo and have spread us across the field. And we haven't played discipline enough against those teams, and that's what's caused us problems, is been our discipline. of playing the calls that we're asked to play. Maybe there's something to be said about the teams that huddle up and allow us to huddle up. I don't know that. And now probably Mike Rowley's going to go no huddle against us Saturday. We'll see. I don't know. But I do know that every game's unique, and every team's unique, and every challenge is unique. And Oregon State's another one. They've got a system in place that's very good. They've been running it for years. They know how to run the football. They know how to run inside zone. They're going to run the fly sweep stuff. They're going to play action pass and get in stacked formations and get the ball to Wheaton and to Cooks off of double moves and different things, and they're good at it. And so at the end of the day, we have to defend that offense, which is different than Stanford's, which was different than SC's, which was different than Oregon's or Arizona's. Every week is different. You probably have to ask them that question more so than me. I don't think so at all. I feel like we're in a good place. I feel like when we met with the team last night, it was a really good team meeting. It was a really good team meeting. I felt great about it coming home. I mean, walking out of the meeting, I actually texted my wife. We just had an awesome team meeting. So I feel good about it, but they probably better answering that than me.
You got to the end of the game, you talked about your guys losing a lot of one-on-one.
Yeah.
Isn't that more of a function of talent than coaching?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that sometimes you can get into a situation where you rely so much on the scheme to allow you to win the play that you can get into a scenario where, okay, I just need to do my job from an alignment and assignment standpoint. When in reality, football, all of that's great, but at the end of the day, the mindset of competing and defeating your man is the most overriding principle that takes place. And I felt a little bit like we've been relying on the scheme to win. So we'll get back into some more competitive environments and practice to reinforce that, from one-on-one scenarios to different things, so that we understand the value of battling the man across from you and defeating the man across from you and getting satisfaction out of that. I think at times we're just relying on the scheme to if we just execute the scheme, that'll be good enough to win the play. And in reality, you still have to defeat the man. And so that'll be a focal point of ours.
Does the punting situation become any more competition this week at all? Or
I'm hopeful. We need to punt better. We need to cover better. That wasn't very good.
Steve, how good is Oregon State's secondary and most of the
I think Jordan's a great player, not only as a DB but as a punt returner. I think Rashad Reynolds has improved immensely from last year to this year. Really has improved himself, and I think Ryan Murphy has really stepped his game up at the other safety spot from what he's done. I think in general, their defense has really improved. They're playing at a high level on the defensive side of the ball right now. They've got good depth. They're doing some things a little bit differently in the nickel situations and on the third downs. But their base defense hasn't changed schematically. I just think their kids have grown into the system. They're communicating better, and they're playing well together.
Sounds like you'll probably see Sean Mannion too. What have you seen out of him? When he was playing before he was hurt.
Well, he's extremely accurate and deep ball thrower. They do a nice job with their max protection stuff and getting Wheaton and Cooks in one-on-one scenarios. And his belief in those guys to go make plays, and he's throwing the ball down the field with conviction, and he throws it accurately. He has really reduced, last year some of his issues were forcing the football, and so he's understood the fine line between forcing it but yet still giving his guys opportunities to make plays. He's been impressive.